What if I told you that the absolute worst thing you could do for a cause you, like, deeply care about is to tell everyone you know about it?
Right, which sounds completely crazy.
It does. I mean, think about that for a second. Welcome to another deep dive, everyone. I'm your host, and today we're jumping into something that really messes with our default assumptions.
Glad to be here for this one.
Yeah,
Because, yeah, we operate on this idea that going viral is, the ultimate goal.
exactly. That massive exposure is just the lifeblood of any successful movement. But today, our mission for this deep dive is to look at an ancient paradox where going viral didn't save a movement. It actually paralyzed it.
It actively choked it out,
Yeah.
which completely defies our modern programming, right?
Yes.
We are wired to believe that broadcasting our joy and our victories is just a fundamental good.
Oh, totally. If it's not posted, did it even happen?
Right. But we have this really fascinating analytical and devotional study in front of us today. It's centered on a single narrative from the biblical book of Mark, specifically Mark chapter 1, verse 45.
Which is such a specific, localized text to draw from.
It is, yeah. And the central thesis here is this brutal exploration of what happens when genuine enthusiasm collides with a direct command to just stay quiet.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because getting to the core of this paradox requires us to strip away a lot of our modern assumptions. So I want you, the listener, to just imagine something for a second.
Yeah, put yourself in this situation.
Imagine receiving the most life-changing, joyful news. Like you suddenly gain unimaginable wealth, or you're completely healed from a lifelong, debilitating disease.
Just the best news possible.
Right. Could you keep it to yourself if you were explicitly told not to share it? Because this ancient text is going to flip our modern understanding of sharing good news completely upside down.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because the narrative focuses on a man suffering from leprosy who encounters Jesus.
Mm.
And, we need to elevate this past the basic Sunday school understanding.
Yeah, we aren't just talking about a physical skin condition here, are we?
Not at all. In the first century context that this source explores, we are talking about absolute civil and social death. You are looking at a localized system of total quarantine.
Like completely cut off.
Completely.
Mm.
The historical and social mechanics of this disease meant you were severed from the economic supply chain, your family, your community.
Wow. Even your religious infrastructure, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You lived entirely on the fringes. You were defined entirely by your contamination. You weren't just sick. You were a walking biohazard.
That's so intense.
And you were forced by law to actually self-identify as an outcast whenever anyone approached you.
So it's a lifetime of profound psychological isolation, not just physical pain.
Right.
And then the narrative hinges on this one explosive moment. Jesus encounters this man, and with both compassion and absolute authority, he just heals him completely.
Instantly.
The physical disease is eradicated, which means the social exile is instantly over. The psychological weight of a lifetime of shame just vanishes.
Which brings us to the collision course.
Right, the twist.
Yeah. Because immediately after handing this man his life back, Jesus issues a highly counterintuitive, completely non-negotiable gag order.
Which is wild.
He strictly warns the man not to tell anyone what just happened.
Mm.
The only instruction is to go directly and show himself to the priest.
See, that feels almost cruel at first glance. I mean, you just experienced the most paradigm-shifting miracle a human being can endure, and you're told to swallow it.
It seems harsh, for sure.
But the requirement to go to the priest isn't just an arbitrary spiritual test, is it? It's a highly specific legal mechanism.
Yes, exactly. It is the only structural path back to society. In that era, the priest functioned basically as the public health official.
Okay, that makes sense.
A verbal claim of healing meant nothing to the community. You needed the official, documented declaration from the established authority to legally re-enter the town.
Oh, to like sleep in your own home or participate in the economy again.
Precisely. Jesus was directing the man to utilize the proper legal channels to finalize his restoration.
So it's the difference between feeling better and actually having your civil rights restored. But man, the psychological burden of that command.
Oh, it would be massive.
I'm trying to map this onto our behavior today. It's like discovering a secret underground medical clinic that magically cures an incurable disease you've had your whole life.
Right.
The doctor cures you, hands you the paperwork to get your life insurance reinstated, and says, do not post about this, do not tell your friends. Just quietly file the paperwork.
Just go to the bank and don't speak a word.
Yes, the internal pressure to scream that information from the rooftops would be agonizing.
The urge to share is overwhelming because it feels morally justified.
Right, you want to help people.
Exactly. You want to help other sick people find the clinic. You want to praise the doctor. It feels like withholding the information is inherently selfish.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And that is the exact tension this study forces us to look at. The man in the narrative is holding the ultimate secret, and he simply cannot bear the weight of it.
So he cracks.
He cracks.
He entirely disregards the instruction. He walks away from the encounter and immediately starts talking freely, right? Spreading the news of his healing to anyone and everyone who will listen.
Yeah, and his logic is incredibly easy to follow. He substitutes his own human reasoning for the explicit instruction he was given.
Because it feels like the right thing to do.
Right. He likely assumed that his enthusiasm was inherently useful. Like, how could praising the person who healed him possibly be a bad thing?
Okay, but wait, I have to push back here. Isn't word of mouth exactly what a movement needs?
Well,
Because I really struggle with this part of the premise. We are conditioned to believe that any good press is good press. If you're trying to reach people, having a walking, talking billboard of your success seems like the ultimate asset.
sure, from a marketing perspective.
Right. How does enthusiastically spreading the word about something genuinely amazing actually cause a problem?
What's fascinating here is the massive blind spot we have regarding the logistics of a crowd.
Okay, what do you mean?
We view massive crowds as a metric of success. But in a first-century logistical reality, a sudden viral influx of thousands of people seeking a spectacle creates sheer operational chaos.
Oh, wow.
You have to look at the mechanism of what happens when a localized rumor spreads like wildfire without any infrastructure to support it.
I see where you're going. It's essentially a first-century DDoS attack.
Huh. That is a brilliant way to frame it, yes.
Think about it. If you post the address of that secret underground clinic to Twitter, your intention is to help sick people.
Right.
But the mechanism of a viral mob shutting down the street means the authorities get called, the roads are impassable, and the doctors inside are completely paralyzed. They can't treat anyone because the spectacle has choked the system.
The spectacle chokes the sustenance.
Hmm.
That's exactly it. The people flooding in aren't necessarily there for the deeper teaching or the broader mission.
They just want the show.
They are there as consumers of a miracle, and the consequence outlined in the narrative is severe and immediate.
What actually happens?
Because the man talked so freely, the text notes that Jesus could no longer enter a town openly. He was forced to stay out in secluded, uninhabited places.
Oh my gosh, that is a devastating role reversal.
It really is.
I've read that story before, but the mechanical swap there is haunting. The man who was forced to live his entire life in secluded, uninhabited places is now free to walk openly into the towns.
Yes.
But his decision to ignore the gag order actively forces the one who healed him out into the wilderness. They literally traded places because of a lack of restraint.
Yeah. The man's genuine joy became a severe limitation on the very ministry that saved him.
Wow.
His zeal was absolutely real, but because it wasn't guided by obedience, his so-called help became an immovable obstacle. It trapped the movement.
So he assumes he knows the overarching strategy better than the architect of the strategy.
Exactly.
That forces us to look at a deeply uncomfortable truth about our own behavior. Like,
Wow.
we operate under the delusion that as long as our motives are pure, our actions are justified.
We conflate good intentions with right actions all the time. The foundational argument this study presents is that in the framework of the kingdom of God, obedience carries significantly more weight than excitement.
I have to push back again, though. How do you differentiate between quiet obedience and just being passive or cowardly?
That's a fair question.
If I keep my mouth shut about the good things happening in my life or the things I believe in, aren't I just hiding my light under a bushel? It feels like a very thin line between honoring a command for silence and just failing to advocate for a cause.
You are highlighting a crucial distinction there. The analysis here isn't advocating for a universal blanket policy of silence in all areas of life.
Okay.
It's pointing specifically to instances where an explicit boundary or prompting has been given. It's about sensitivity to timing.
So it's not never speak.
Right. The danger isn't speaking. The danger is in speaking when you have been prompted to wait. It's the arrogance of assuming we have the full picture when we only have a localized perspective.
We only see our immediate radius. We don't see the systemic ripple effect.
Exactly. We don't see the logistics of the towns. We don't see the pacing required to sustain a movement over years rather than just burning it out in a viral weekend.
Yeah, the burnout is real.
The study makes the case that spiritual maturity often reveals itself not in the volume of our testimony, but in the precision of our obedience,
The precision of our obedience, man, that fundamentally changes how we view personal discipline
doesn't it?
because we measure maturity by visibility.
Hmm.
We look at who has the loudest platform, the most followers, the most dramatic story.
Absolutely.
But this framework suggests there are actual moments where silence honors a gift more than speech, where waiting is an active, powerful choice rather than just a passive failure.
And there's a really sobering nuance here that we cannot gloss over.
What's that?
The healed man in the narrative. He didn't lose his healing because he disobeyed. The gift was not revoked as a punishment for his viral marketing campaign.
Wait, really? He kept the clean bill of health. He kept it. He stayed in the town. He retained the blessing. But his choices drastically altered the ecosystem around him.
That is so interesting.
Our actions, even our well-intentioned rebellions, do not exist in isolation. We have this tendency to treat our experiences as entirely our own property.
Oh, for sure. We say, it's my story, it's my life, I'll share it if I want to.
Exactly.
And by treating it as isolated personal property, we completely ignore the collateral damage. He kept his healing, but his inability to keep a secret crippled the freedom of the person who gave it to him.
It altered the entire trajectory of the work in that region.
Wow.
It forces the reader to realize that acting outside of instructed boundaries, even with the purest, most joyful intentions, can unknowingly limit the freedom of a greater work.
That is a terrifying level of responsibility.
Oh.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Think about how hard this is for you and me today.
It goes against everything we're taught. We live in an ecosystem that literally monetizes our ability to broadcast every minor victory, every promotion, every epiphany, every perfectly plated dinner.
Yeah.
The immediate knee-jerk reaction is to put it on a public stage. We are actively conditioned to believe that an experience isn't fully realized, that it doesn't even fully exist until it has been shared, perceived, and validated by an audience.
The cultural pressure dictates that if you don't speak up, if you don't post about the milestone, you are somehow diminishing its value.
Like you're wasting it.
Right. Silence is viewed as a failure to capitalize on a moment.
But this study is effectively begging us to hit the brakes. It suggests that guarding something precious with humility might actually be the highest form of respecting it.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Maybe the best thing you can do with a profound gift or a piece of wonderful news or a deep realization is to simply hold it.
Yeah.
To trust that the timing isn't right yet to broadcast it, and to stop assuming that everything that feels good to us is automatically aligned with the bigger picture.
It requires a radical submission of our ego. We have to admit that our natural desires, even the joyful, celebratory ones, are not always a reliable compass.
Because true devotion isn't about grand public gestures, is it?
No, or securing the maximum amount of attention for a cause. True devotion is found in listening carefully and executing the instruction you are actually given.
Ah.
When prompted to be silent, you do not speak. When prompted to wait, you do not rush.
It redefines helpfulness entirely. Sometimes our version of being helpful is just a chaotic interruption if it ignores the blueprints of the one actually orchestrating the work.
Exactly.
Devotion is quiet, surrendered obedience. It's having the situational awareness to realize that your personal viral moment might be the exact thing that blocks the road for everyone else.
It is the ultimate test of restraint in an era of noise. We spend a massive amount of our energy worrying about whether we have the courage to speak up when it matters.
Right.
But the far more penetrating question is whether we have the discipline to remain silent when it's required.
Which leaves us with a lingering, almost uncomfortable thought to chew on today.
If you were handed the ultimate gift today, the promotion, the healing, the exact paradigm-shifting reality you have been desperate for, but the absolute non-negotiable condition was your total silence, could you bear the weight of that secret? What if the greatest test of your maturity isn't what you're willing to shout from the rooftops, but what you have the strength to hold in quiet trust?